So Eric, what was kind of your earliest memories of playing Fitba as a youngster, would you say?
Hey, probably just playing out the back, big garden at home. I grew up on a farm actually, so a big bit of grass out the back. I played football with my little brother Callum. Most days I would have played with him, and I had an older brother, 5 years older than Blair, who played a bit of football with him as well. So he was trying to learn things off him. So we've always kicked about football, and then obviously we went straight into the local primary school, and I think it was about primary 4 before I was in the primary school football team as well. So yeah, it wasn't a big school. So as I say, primary 4 that got you in playing against the primary 7s as well. So it was just a country football beginning really, out in the sticks, knocking about your mates, your brothers in the football team, and after that I was at the tournaments with Faircare and went up to Stonehaven. There was a tournament up at Stonehaven, and we'd go up there 7-a-sides, and I got spotted by I'm in Stonehaven up there, so I had Stonehaven youth, so I got asked to go in for training there and got signed up after that with my good friend Ross Sinclair. Actually, he was the same age as me, so we travelled up to there. I was about half an hour away from our house actually, so it was a bit of travelling back up and forth the road to Stonehaven at that time. What else we got there? So a lot of running up and down to Stonehaven, as I say. My mum, she run all over the country. My dad was a farmer. Yeah. He was always busy working or whatever. He wasn't really at home so much. So my mum, she was in charge of taking me to football. So she was up and down the road to Stonehaven to the training. And on a Saturday, Stonehaven, to be fair, was a funny team. There was only like 4 or 5 sets of parents would take kids. So like my mum, we had a Shogun with 7 seats. So we would have half the football team in my car every Saturday. So she did our fair bit of trailing about the north of Scotland with us in the football.
Yeah. So what were you always like a defender, or what was your position back then?
After striker, I wanted to score goals. I was always the one, especially for a school team who wasn't that big, but score goals for them. Going up to Stonehaven, I think I played my first season. I can't remember how old would it. Well, it'd be 12. My first season in Stonehaven, and it was a year that Andy Cole scored 42 in the Premiership, and I scored 42 that season as well for the youth. So, and I did because after that I'd been one of the oldest one at youth football, but then for a year it changed. So I became one of the younger ones in that age. The age limit kind of changed, so I became one of the younger ones. And as I did drop back into left midfield, left back. I played a bit of that as well. So I played all over the pitches. I used football. I was never out and out anything really.
So never a goalkeeper.
I did play in goals a couple of times actually. I played up at I can't mind the name of the pitch in Aberdeen. The goalies were away. I think we were playing a Scottish Cup game against a Dundee team. And for some reason, we played really well. I can't remember if we won or got beat, but I made loads of saves in the game. And I remember the manager coming over at me and saying, "What a goalkeeper you are!" I'm like, "I'm not even a goalkeeper. I'm just filling in for my pal because he's not here." But yeah, I'd turn my hand to anything. As I say, growing up in the country, you'd always have your shot in the goals as well. So World Cuppies and stuff like that. You all had a stint in the goals.
Yeah. So were you beating your brothers all the time, or?
My brother was I beat the Callum probably because I was physically bigger than him and older than him. But my older brother Blair, as I say, he was 5 years older than me. He knocked me about a good bit when I was younger.
Yeah, that prepared you for the Highland League, and
yeah. To be fair, it toughened me up. And again, to go back to the country, you didn't pal about with everyone your same age. So like my wee brother, he's 2 years younger than me, and I played with guys 3-4 years older than me. So you were all just playing at the park at the same time. So you just had to toughen up. There's one of my big pals, Scott Sim. He actually went and he did the heavyweight games, the Highland Games. He did the heavyweight, like throwing the caber and that. That's how big a guy he was. And I remember he used to knock you about a bit, so you had to be kind of thick-skinned if you were going to play in that game.
So how did the whole Montrose move come about in terms of getting in that setup?
And at the Roselea, well, I went from Stonehaven, went to Lothamure. I didn't know if you knew that. I went to the amateurs for a couple of seasons. I played the Aberdeen Amateur League for 2 seasons. I came out with 16. So I played 16, 17 to 17 and a half at Lothamure Amateurs, which was a good grounding as well. Coming out of boys football, sometimes it's a big step to go straight into a decent level like the juniors or the Highland League. I think it's quite a good stepping stone. You can play youth football as much as you want, but it's never really going to ready for the pace and the strength of actual men. So 2 years at Lothermuir, I did enjoy my time there. Actually, I was obviously just starting to go out and get a beer, and you get a beer after that in the local boozer. I made some friends there, so I played 2 years there. Funnily enough, I went there as a striker. Played, I think it was Murdo Anderson played for Lothermuir. He scored over 500-600 goals or something in the time there. So limited chances up front, but all the centre halves got injured back in the day, and I think I was the best at heading the ball even at 17. So the manager dropped me back to centre half, which I didn't really like playing, but I could play it quite comfortably. And so I got into the routine. He was going to play with centre half all the time. So when Roselea came in, they wanted me to be a midfielder again. So I was like, oh no, I'm away. I don't want to play with centre half anymore. So I went away to Roselea to try and score goals and play up front and be at the right end of the pitch.
Yeah, so what was it like stepping up to the juniors? Was it a big step up compared to amateurs, or what's?
I can't remember. The amateur league back in the day, the Aberdeen Amateur League, was a good league actually. There was a lot of good players and good setups and good teams. And there was a lot of junior boys dropping down in the amateur leagues as well. So I can remember it being quite a decent standard. But Roselea, they were in the first division in the Tayside League, so they were in the lower division at the time. So it was probably a good stepping stone. We won it the first year I went there, actually. We did well that season. And that was a good bedding in time that season, just in the first division before getting promoted up in the Premier League, playing against your Locos and your Tayports and Carnoustie teams and stuff like that, all the big Tayside teams. So I don't remember it being that much a hassle, but I think throughout my career, if you play with better players, you raise your game as well. The training gets better, you do things quicker, you move the ball sharper. I think you test yourself at the highest level you possibly can to see where your level is. So I found it quite an easy step to go up.
Yeah, so you picked up a couple cups and stuff. How happy were you with that in terms of that? That was your first couple of trophies in terms of Fitba?
Yeah, well, at Lothermuir, I think we got to cup final, never won anything. It's a boys' club. I think I got a medal for runners up one year in one of the leagues, but I can't remember winning at Stonehaven as well. So it wasn't winning competitions wasn't a massive part of me. So when I went to Roselea, we won the league the first year. That was a great year. I think we went unbeaten all season actually, and then the following year we got to the cup final, DJ Lane Cup final, to play against Forfar West End, a good junior team as well. And I remember one of the older guys, Riddle, he turned around, he goes, you enjoy this today, you don't know when your next cup final will ever be. So we went on, won that comfortably. And we're having a laugh about it after the game. It's like, I'll win these all the time. And sure enough, we ended up over that spell, we were in 3 or 4 cup finals and we were really successful. So I chuckle back now thinking the advice he gave me at the time, which is probably good advice actually. I've been pretty lucky with the medals that I've won over the years, because that Roselea team, it was a right good team actually. There was a good mix of youth. I would have been one of the youngest going in there. There was a couple of guys my age, a couple of guys 3 or 4, a couple of years older than me, and there was a good few experienced guys as well to keep you grounded as well. So it was such a good mix of players there and abilities as well, and made some great friends at Roselea. To this day, I still keep up with some of the old guys from there. So it was great times there, actually, really good times.
Yeah, so was there much people in that team that kind of followed you in terms of going up to the Highland League or going a higher level? Was there much people who you played with that kind of...
Not so much. Just my little brother, he followed us on. Well, my cousin was there, Colin. He played with me at Lothermuir. He went the year before at Roselea, so it was that made the decision easier to go to Roselea as well. Follow my cousin there. He was a good pal as well. And then my little brother followed me in, and he really hit a bit of form there as well. And he ended up going to Montrose, and then he came up to us at Cove for a couple of seasons. He was up at Cove, and he went back down to Roselea and played Carnoustie as well. So apart from Carl, it's just that location Montrose you're in. I don't know. They just quite liked that location, the Angus area. They didn't really have any ambitions to travel outside. There were certainly players good enough to go and give it a bash, but I don't know. They didn't have that commitment to just go out without their comfort zone.
Yeah. So did you always want to, in terms of move on and kind of progress in terms of before you moved to Cove? Was that always something you were looking at or not?
See, at Roselea, it was just because I made such good friends. We'd go out every weekend together after games, and it was such a good time. early 20s, carefree, and you did party after games. It was great fun. But it got to the stage like 25, like I'd been there 6 or 7 years, and I think all the Tayside clubs had come in from a Tayport, Lochie United, Carnoustie, and knocked them all back, really. Montrose had, I think, tried to sign me since I left, actually. Montrose, I think, had tried to sign me a couple of times, but the manager at the time didn't even tell me. He just told them no, I wasn't for sale. So that was a bit frustrating, actually, but it came to the point saying, look, if I don't move now, I'll just be here until the end. Mid-20s is like a perfect age to kick on. So that's how I ended up signing for Tayport, because in my eyes, they were one of the biggest teams in Tayside at the time. They'd won the Scottish Cup, the Junior Cup, and that they'd been in a couple of finals. They seemed to win all the local cups as well. So I thought that'd be my best bet to move on and progress. And then after that, I think I signed the form, say the Wednesday night, maybe Friday. I got a phone call from John Sheeran asking if I wanted to go up the Highland League, fancied a crack at the Highland League. And to be fair, I knew absolutely nothing about the Highland League. The papers didn't really cover it down here. We probably got the Courier more than we did the Press and Journal, to be fair. So you didn't really read much. There wasn't the social media you see now. You get coverage. You can find out anything about any team, really. So it was a bit of a stab in the dark, actually. I didn't know anyone from the Highland League. The only two teams I knew from the Highland League was Clackanicudden and Forest Mechanics, because those are funny kind of names and they stick out. and you remember them coming up in the video print, or, on the Saturday when the results were coming through. So apart from that too, I didn't really know any teams at all. So I agreed to go up and meet John, and he obviously told me all about Cove and what it was like and the teams that played, and he really sold it to me to go up there and give it a crack, which I'm glad I did. It ended up quite well for me, but I remember that summer, Tayport, they were as one of the big teams. They held my registration then, so they kind of held all the cards. They wanted money for me, and they wanted a lot of money for me at the time, I think. And I remember phoning the manager saying, "I'm no happy." He goes, "Well, it's out with my hands. It's the secretary that's got it." And I think John managed to smooth things over, and I think it was ended up £1,000 or £1,500. I think they had to pay Tayport for me, which was no bad bit of business for them, because I never actually stepped foot in Tayport as a Tayport player. I'd went down and played them a couple of times, but no, they'd done all right with it. It might have been a bit frustrating not getting it aside, but I think it was the right choice for me in the end.
Yeah, so just how important were you kind of sold on the project that like Cove were looking to do in terms of progress, in terms of their new ground and stuff?
Well, I don't know if you've ever met John or spoke to John. I think he's a salesman at heart, and he could really sell you the dream. And to be fair, it was a great prospect. I was up in Aberdeen and playing out the junior pitches, or good wee pitches and little facilities, and then you go up to Cove. And I know Allen Park and people ridicule it for being small and dated and stuff like that, but it was just in the summer when they would paint all the walls, the grass was lush green, everything looked perfect. I remember looking up over the wall, and I was like, geez, that looks like a proper team. And then you see the glass bit from the train going past. Really excited me to play in that ground.
Yeah, so what was your kind of earliest memories in terms of joining Cove and your like first season?
Hey, probably getting picked up from Scott Patterson, it was at the time. Remember Scott? He'd played at Cove before going down the road to England, and he's coaching, I think, in the league still. So I never met the guy before in my life, but John had set this up for he'd pick me up in Brechin. So Scotty picked me up in Brechin. So it was a bit awkward for a start. The guy, he'd obviously done a bit of football, picking up this wee random in Brechin. So we're travelling up, and I remember just being really nervous, being in the car, didn't know what to speak about, but he's so laid back. It was easy. It was fine. And then after that, Kevin Tyndall, I think he'd been away on holiday. He came back in. He was travelling with us as well. And so it was probably that car journeys for a start. And pre-season, I also remember pre-season, I thought it was all really quite professional and good. But then Kevin Tyndall came back, and there wasn't as many people training as it should have been. I think they were going through a really big rebuilding process. We lost a lot of experienced boys that summer, and so we dragged in John found loads of guys to come in. I named a few. It was Barry Stephen came in, Jamie Watt, Phil McKibben, Jerry O'Driscoll, Robbie Henderson, Kenny McKenzie, and myself. I think we all came in at the same time. And so Tyndall came back from his holiday, being experienced guys. Like, I'm not fucking happy. We've no signed players that was going to kick us on next year. And There's only about 12, 13 boys at training, so he was kicking off, and I think Inverurie were wanting to sign him at the time, so he was holding back and signed a new deal at Cove until he knew who was coming in. But the training went well, and the start of the season, I didn't really know what to expect. As I say, I was signed as a certain midfielder to get box to box. Sean just wanted me to, because I scored a lot of goals at Roselea as well.
Yeah.
He wanted me to get up in the box, so I did. I think I scored up at Rothes early on. That was my earliest memory of the goal anyway. But after that, I think it was just a different pace of the game. It was just different up in the Highland League, and I struggled to adapt to the pace of the game. And again, for some reason, centre-half spot was open again, and John stuck the back in there, as did the amateur manager to me, and as I took it duck to water, it was easy. Playing with likes of Scott Patterson, he played alongside me, Kevin Tyndall as well. These are experienced pros, played the game, and great speaking. That was something I remember going to Highland League. It was so much better communication, and I've learned throughout the years, football's an easy game if you speak to each other, tell each other what you're meant to be doing and where you're meant to be and who to press and where to go. And I think that's why I played for so long, because the more you tell people around about you what to do, the less kind of moving about and running you have to do yourself. So it's worked out all right for myself.
So how important is that in terms of obviously the pace of the game, and also being clever on the ball in terms of your decision making? How important was that?
Yeah, it's a massive part of the game. But just, I don't know, I've never been the quickest, but I've been powerful all the time. I've been strong, but in the Highland League you came out against, it was really clever ex-pros as well that were strong. They knew how to hold you off, and they had the pace as well. So I was hiding nothing in the midfield, I think, and being the ball going back and forth over the top of my head, and where there's an art to that as well, where the ball's going to land. So if you're in midfield, you go see it going up to a big centre half. You see a striker nudging him, he's now got to get a clean header, so you're second guessing where the ball's got to be. And if you see like any of the good Highland League midfielders, their ability to be in the area where the ball lands, second ball, is vital. And I think I struggled with that for a start.
So who were kind of the toughest kind of battles that you had in your early time at Cove, would you say?
Early time, I can't really remember that many, but I remember Molby, Bucky, I can't remember his right name. I just remember, that was a couple of seasons into it. I can't really remember. I think we steamrolled everyone that first couple of seasons, so I can't really remember being up against much battles. It was such a blur the way we played. It was like we'd concede goals, so it was scoring at the end. We'd concede a goal, so we'd just pile forward last-minute goals, and it was a bit of a blur. But I remember Molby really being one of the toughest ones, because he's not a big fella, but he's strong. He's nasty as well, and he's a really good player, and he could certainly mix it. But I remember him being one of the toughest strikers I've ever come up against. There was Mara up in Bucky as well. I like playing Mara. I like playing big guys that will just battle you, like Mara, the big striker, one of the twins. Can't remember his name, up at Forest. Who else was the big guys? Even Jerry O'Driscoll, when he went and played in other teams as well. I didn't mind playing against big guys that weren't going to run away from you. It's the little ones that their movements. Probably Sutherland in his prime. It was a 2-3 year spell when he played in the Highland. I know he played it for a lot of years, but 2 or 3 year spell. He was incredible. His ability, his speed, his pace, his fitness, and again, he was a tough little bugger as well. Actually, he didn't shy away from confrontation, which I liked. I like that. I've met him since, and we've had a beer and a good crack as well, which is it's all good.
So in terms of like what was your kind of obviously your first title win? How much did that mean to you in terms of getting your first Highland League trophy?
It was huge. As I say, I came in and I remember speaking to the guys, again, not knowing too much about the Highland League. I didn't even know who the best teams were. But Jamie Watton came in, and he's obviously got bags of experience in the Highland League. And I was quizzing him on the way to Wick one day, and I was like, and it was early on, I think it was third or fourth game, and I was like, where should we be aiming to finish in this league? And he said to me, I think his words were, if we get in behind the top, the big 2 or 3, 3 or 4, we'll have a good season. So he was aiming for 4th or 5th. And so in my head, that's what it was. Keith being the main team, Devon Vale, Bucky was a big side at that time. Well, that was certainly the three biggest ones, I think, at that point. And he seemed to think if we get in behind them, we would be having a good season, which it turned out we weren't far away from the top three come Christmas. And after that, we just kicked on. We were incredible that run in, actually. We hunted down, I think it was Keith at the time, and we went on to win it. I think, was it a game to spare, or did we win it the last game? I can't even remember, actually. But yeah, good times.
Yeah, so who were kind of the standout players that you were playing alongside in that team, would you say?
In that team, for some, well, John, he's got a good, he has still got a great way of getting the best out of players. He can be good players, and like there's a Barry Stephen, he'd been passed around a few Highland League clubs, and he hadn't really hit the form he had for a few seasons. But that season, first season up at us, he was outstanding, left or right wing. Jamie Watt as well. I don't think he'd been playing at Inverurie Locos. He came in, and Jamie Watt could score a goal from anywhere, to be fair. I remember seeing a goal, yes, I can't remember, Stuart Goals kicked it the whole length of Allen Park, and Jamie was running towards the goals, and I'm sure it hit him on the back or something like that, and it went straight in past the goalie, and he claimed he meant it, but I'm not sure he did. But so them two were massive players. Kevin Tyndall, he played right back for a start, and he ended up playing centre half for me. He was a massive player for us. Richie Livingston, another experienced player. Yeah. He played left back, played centre midfield with Paul Coots. I think he did. He played most of the season centre midfield with Paul Coots. And I think he was very good for Paul as well. Richie is an older kind of player, experienced player, knew where to be and could back Cootsy up whenever he needed, and probably let Cootsy roam a wee bit more and get on the ball, because he knew he had that behind him. Richie was sitting behind him, just kind of sweeping things up. So they were big players. And then there was Clark Bain coming through. You'd think he'd been in and out of the team, but then he's really started to become a focal point in the team. I can't really name any bad players in that team. I really don't. We all played a part. I can't remember us being that big a squad that there was players getting left out all the time. Everyone played a part. Neil Cruikshank, he was another young boy coming through. Dean Laurie just hit the ground running. I think he'd had a couple of games the year before. He went on to be a great left back. And then I think, and Robbie Henderson, that's another one for Perth. He was a travelling buddy for up there, daft as a brush, but he worked his socks off for the team. He really did a lot of dirty work. But then, as I say, we're close to the pack, I think at that Christmas time, going into the winter. And then John, I'm sure it was Stuart McKenzie, the goalie, came in as a backup goalie at Lee Wintram at the time. And he got in Martin Johnson and Kevin Webster. Martin Johnson coming in for Elgin, I think, or was it back for Brecon? I can't remember. And Webby coming in from Baroth, possibly. And they two went straight into the starting 11 as well, and played a lot of games, scored a lot of important goals for us as well. So I think everyone played their part. I can't remember. And obviously Cootsy, he was magnificent that season. I remember, I didn't know too much about him. Been on a few nights out with him, and he was a wee bit wild, just a young black lad, great fun, and couldn't really be taken too seriously. But when he came to get the balls out, the footballs out, he was quality. I remember like getting the ball at centre half, and a lot of Highland League, especially earlier on, was just like get it long, play second balls, and he was running 10 yards from me, a boy up his ass, and he's telling me, he's like, give me the ball, and I'm shelling it long. And he's, this 18-year-old is giving me grief because I'm not giving the ball. He's like, boy's right off your ass. He's like, just give me the fucking ball. I'll deal with that. He was just demanding the ball all the time. Yeah. And that was something I'd never had in football at any level, actually. Somebody was just that, just that ability to, and confidence in himself, I suppose, just to say, no, I just want the ball. Give me the ball right now. I'll deal with anybody that's round about me. So I think I remember a game up at Keith. I don't know if that was kind of a turning point. I think we beat them up there, or drew with them. I think they were starting to pull away in the league. There's a game up at Keith, and he was up against Stilley, the old Keith manager. Yeah. And I think he'd been the main midfielder, one of the main midfielders in the Highland League for a lot of years. And he came up against a young Paul Coots that day. And that day, Cootsy ran the show. He was absolutely brilliant. And I don't know if that gave him a wee bit even more confidence if he can mix it with the likes of Stilley, who was still the top of his game. Like he was dominating games, and for Cootsy to do that away from home up at Keith against the best team in the Highland League at the time, I think it showed his quality.
Yeah, did you always? I mean, obviously you only played a season with Coots. Were you not surprised when he got the move down south? Or
Not really. No, he was a perfect age. I think he was frustrated that Aberdeen had let him go. That's another one of the two small brigade. I think his dad's about 6'2" or something. His dad's a massive man, so I don't know why they didn't believe that Paul was going to grow at all, because he certainly had the ability, football-wise, to do that. But like that second half of the season, there was whispers. Obviously, Graham Park knew the guy Ferguson down at Peterborough, and I think Kieran asking if there's any talent in the Highland League, and Paul Coots was obviously quite high on the list there. So there've been rumours about him going down there and going down on trial. I think he did go down for a trial for a couple of weeks even during the season, and everyone was delighted when he finally got his move down.
Yeah. So did you ever have an opportunity to go on trials anywhere at higher level, or did you?
Not really. Just, I don't know. Like at Stonehaven, I did well at times at Stonehaven. There was a team, I can't remember, it was early on, there was a team watching a couple of us, and I was one of the guys, but it never came to anything. But no, I never really got any kind of trial offers from anybody, really. It was just, I went up through the leagues my whole career, I suppose, and finished at the top at Cove. That was the pinnacle, that was the highest level I'd played. Never really got the opportunities when I was younger. I think if I did, as I say, I found it easy to make steps up. If you're playing with better players, I might have got an opportunity. But again, my discipline probably held me back a good bit. There was a fair chip on my shoulder when I was younger, and probably lacked a bit of guidance in football by probably a father figure. My dad was there; he wasn't really into football at all. But my mum wasn't ever going to tell me what I should and shouldn't be doing in the pitch, or how I should behave or act, or what I should and shouldn't do. Probably needed somebody like that to grab a hold of me, and I maybe would have gotten more opportunities. But you live and learn. I take my boys' football team now, and there's a good football talent in that. There's a few good guys in there, and I think I've got a lot of experience to pass on to these guys, and what people are looking for, what you should be doing, what's the right things, what's the wrong things. So hopefully I can help some of them going forward.
I was going to say, compared to now, obviously you're a player manager now, what's kind of, obviously the environment in terms of football's changed drastically in terms of what you see players in terms of their health, in terms of the way they train, or it seems to a lot of them it's more like their full-time job, even though they still have a job, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and that's good. They're like the young guys, they come in, and like I've never been one for going to the gym. I've been quite lucky. The physique was given that I've all been quite fit. I'd always do a wee bit of running and stuff like that, but you see the young guys now, they're in and out the gym, and their bodies are properly like athletes. They really do look after themselves. You see them on the milkshake drinks and all the energy stuff, and they do look after themselves, which is good. And I would try and promote that as much as I can to the youngsters to really look after themselves, because if they are going to do anything, even if it isn't at 18, 19, you still give yourself a chance up until your mid-20s if you are properly looking after yourself. Don't just chuck it in, which a lot of good players do in these days. That's the only thing. They do look after themselves, but I don't think they're quite as thick skinned now as they used to be. There's so many guys, so many talented guys, and I've seen guys like retiring when they're 26, 25, 27. They've kind of had enough of football. Fair enough if they've fallen out of love with football, but I still think they've still got 10 good years in them playing, even if they have to drop down a level to have another kick to go back higher again. I don't know. I think the commitment, again, probably from some of the younger lot is different from what it is now. You can't speak to them the same as you did before. You used to get absolutely rollicked for doing wrong things in training, and now they'd probably say, oh, fuck you, I'm not coming back next week, rather than back in the day they would say, well, fuck you, I'll show you what you're wrong, and then you would go the opposite way. So that's a big frustration in football today. But again, I don't know, there is so much talent there, and if they can be nurtured the right way and given the right guidance as well, there could be so many better players as well, playing for a lot longer.
Yeah, so how important in terms of, obviously you went on to win our league titles, how important is that, like, winning mentality? And obviously in the Cove teams have been quite rampant in terms of winning week in, week out, and keeping that up on a consistent basis. How do you cope with that in terms of keeping the standards high?
Yeah, I'd say you've got to keep a standard high. don't accept second best at training, get on each other, and I did see people nipping at each other, and as long as it's in the right way, it's fine, absolutely fine. I'm all for that. If you're picking on somebody not so good, you're obviously just got to do their confidence, but if you're doing the right things and you're doing the right things in training all the time, but a winning mentality isn't something that's just built overnight. It takes a long time to develop, and I think back to when we left Allen Park in 2015, we were left without a home ground to play out of. Actually, I know Inverurie and Fermat and Lossy we played games at as well. Huntly we played games. I think that last winning mentality really ramped up there, because you always just kind of felt that you had to give that extra wee bit. You had about 10 people, home fans watching you if you're up at Lossymouth at a home game. I think it really developed from there. I think we played 3 years away without a home pitch, and we won the league twice, which is an incredible feat. I don't think it's spoken about enough, actually. They do speak about Cove winning the league, but the way we did win that 2 leagues, not playing a home game, was incredible. And the guys in that run were like myself and the guys that are still playing now: Jules, Scully, Megginson, McKenzie, Milnes, Scott Ross, Masson, Strachan. These are guys that all played in that. So I think it's helped massively going from the Highland League into the second division there. They all had the mentality of we're going to win every week, and they did. They just hit the ground running. They didn't accept second best. And I think it went on to the next league. Again, they missed out the year before. But again, I think they've just driven on, got better. They've obviously added players, but that winning mentality of that dressing room's not changed. So I think a massive credit to them and everything they've done so far.
Yeah, so in terms of yourself, going back to the different Highland League wins, one of the ones that kind of stand out for me is the final day one for Martin. Obviously, they had Pele. He came in. There was a lot of talk of them, winning the league. I remember there was a back page saying it's our league to lose or something. How was that season in terms of that going up to the final day win?
I really can't remember much about the middle of that season or why we were so far behind chasing them. I think they had done really well that year. They were a right good team, but they did start to stutter. I remember I was injured a lot the middle part of that season, actually, and I only came back into the team late on in the season. And but what a day that was. I know the week before we were up at Rothes playing not a very strong team with Rothes at the time, I don't think. And for Martin had Nairn at home. So we were up at Rothes, and I think it was 0-0 for a long time. And we went one, I can't even remember what the game finished, but I remember going up for a corner and it went out the back. I got it, went to Byling, crossed it, and an MJ scored. I think I made it 1-0. We might have got a second to make it comfortable, but the fans on the side, there wasn't many people at Rothes, so they're shouting on Nairn's ahead. And then after full time, I'm running at the fans saying, "Is that game over?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's over. Yeah, they've been beat." And walking off that pitch, I don't know for about anybody else, but walking off that pitch, I knew in myself that I was going to win next week, regardless of what happened. And it showed that it proved to be right. That there was just a feeling about that. They had started, they had their chances to win the league and they'd really blown it. A couple of bad results on the way in. I was speaking to Kevin Webster. He had left Cove, he'd went to Fermanagh. Speaking to him at the weekend there, and he said there was too many changes in and out of the squad at the end of the season. He said they rotated it far too much, and he never played that last game. Actually, I think it was Kevin Webster, Daniel Park was there as well, Stephen Jaffrey, he was there as well. So there's three guys who Cove there as well. So there was a wee bit added needle to that when we turned up on the final day. But that day, I don't know if was you at that game. Have you been too young for that?
No, I remember seeing the highlights. I wasn't at the game, but I was.
It must have been a game in real early, middle of May or something like that. I think the game was, but it was downpours. The weather was horrendous, and I think it might have, if it wasn't for the final league decider on the last day of the season, that game might have went off. Actually, and the amount of fans that were there. The massive amount of fans. It was brilliant. Unbelievable I actually came out to watch that game in that weather because it was horrendous. I remember the ball sticking in bits in the grass, but I think we we dominated that game. We never battered them making chances, but we were just so solid at the back. I can remember me and Redford playing at the centre back, and we're just throwing ourselves at everything. We're making sure they weren't going to get in the box. If we can't get in the box, they weren't going to score. So we did the business that day. But as I say, that I had it in my head from the week before. So walking off that Rothes pitch, we were going to win that league.
Yeah. So in terms of like, what do you think's been the difference between Cove and for Martin, in terms of, obviously Cove have won umpteen titles and for Martin's had chances but seem to slip up? But what do you think? Is it a mentality thing? Is it like, what do you think?
I think it'd be a lot to do with mentality, yeah, absolutely. And standards as well. Some of the players they had through the doors at that club's been ridiculous, have been absolutely outstanding players. But I don't know if the set of standards or was kept the standard. They could do it in patches and they could be brilliant patches, but you have to do it every week. And I think that's where they struggle. They let themselves down by not playing the standard, setting standards and keeping to them every week.
Yeah,
I can only put it down now because the quality of player they've had, some of them has been frightening.
So what was those type of battles? Obviously you've been in terms of, you faced the likes of, for Martin, your Broras when they've been at their peak. How do you find those head-to-head games?
That's what I loved. I absolutely loved them. I would never shy away from them. That's what made you go out. Sometimes you'd go away to Wick, not away at Fort William or something like that at the time. And those are the games I would prick about and like take an extra touch or try and play a pass that I should be playing, or I'll try and beat the striker because it was so, you are so comfortable. And John probably would tell you himself, he'd pull his hair out of me. He's like, do that fucking right, thanks. But see the big games, I think, I can't remember, somebody said, like, I don't think it was John, but somebody said, like, sometimes it just didn't really give me the appetite. That games didn't give me the appetite to play. It was the Fraser games away from home, Brora, Bucky away, and the home games against them as well. For Martin, but home and away, they were the big games that I loved playing in. I would have played them every week. And even though we took some beatings as well up at Fraser, but I used to play them on like the New Year's Day fixture.
Yeah,
and we did get a couple of beatings up there, but on New Year. But I just loved the atmosphere. I thrived off the crowd as well, and obviously I got a lot of hate. There's a lot of haters in the crowd for me, but I thrived off it. I loved that, a wee bit of interaction with the crowd. And what's in your this, your that, and right, what's it? And I just loved that. I loved it all over. I used to get up at Brora. I got it everywhere, to be fair. But Brora was particularly big. Wick, Bucky, Fraserburgh, Turriff, for Martin. They were probably the worst ones. The Turriff ones are great, actually. I don't know, where are you folk from in the country? I'm from Banff.
What was funny about Turriff? What was kind of...
Well, the Turriff, the locals there, they used to go from a bit. There's a lot of farmers. They're a big agriculture. So I'd be, what's in your this? And I was like, fuck off in your tractor, you're farming, blah, blah, blah. And then they're all jumping the barrier, going mad at me. But unbeknown to them, I'm like, I was brought up in a farm. My dad was a farmer. So they're spitting absolute dummy at me shouting this to them. But I'm chuckling myself, knowing fine that I'm as much of a farmer as half of them anyway. And again, as like goes out to social media, and people just think they can say what they want to anybody nowadays, and they'll be not pulled up for it. But and like in the professional football, there's big crowds. You'll not get pulled up for in the Highland League. If there's only 20 years in the stand and you see the boy shouting at you, you'll know who he is. You can shout something right back at him. Like so. No, I do. I love that interaction, even though a lot of it was abuse. The Cove fans are good to me, and my teammates around about were good to me. I was doing the business for them, so it didn't really worry me too much at all.
I was going to say, being able to shut them up probably brought a smile to your face in terms of...
Yeah, I remember a game up at Clach, and they had Clach went through spells of having like young guys come to the games, and I remember a group of 5 or 6 of them just giving me dogs abuse for most of the game, and it was a tight game, and I think I scored, but they were up at my end of the pitch when I was defending. I scored at the other end, so I ran the whole length of the pitch right in front of them, celebrating in front of them, and they were fizzing, but I actually met them back in the social club after it, and they came up, shook my hand, and said, "Nah, you were brilliant, great banter," and it was all forgotten about. That was great. Another one was Rothes. I don't know where they got a crew from the last few years, but I was getting dogs abuse at Inverurie. I think it was for Cove though. No, it was for Inverurie. It must be my first season at Inverurie.
Yeah.
Again, that was something similar. I didn't score. They give me dogs abuse, but didn't score. But I ran all the way up there, and it was a way to celebrate in front of them. But I just ran just past them so I wouldn't get booked by the ref and celebrate in front of the Inverurie fans. So they were all just about on the pitch and that. But I loved that. Absolutely loved that.
Have you ever had any funny interactions that you can talk about with like opposition players? Any kind of ones that stand out that you can repeat, or is it a bit?
There's too many, I think. There is some funny ones. I can't think off the top of my head, but there's some witty strikers, and some of the things they say, you chirp back at them, and you're mouthing back and forth. But no, it's just general stuff. It really is. I can't remember anything being too hurtful or too to the bone. It's just that quite general banter.
Any funny referees you've dealt with? Because some of them could be a bit bizarre.
I don't want to name names in some of them, actually. Some of the younger ones were just... I'll not say much about them, but there was a couple of them, like, there was I don't know if he's assistant manager now at Nairn. I always speak quite highly of him. I forget his name now. He was a Highland League ref. He was from Nairn. I think he's on the committee on the staff at Nairn. He was, certainly. And he had to give up his referee licence because of his age, and whether it was over 50 or 55, he had to drop down the levels. He wasn't going to do that. So speaking of it, during the game, I actually can't remember if he was that good a ref or not, but the whole time he was on the pitch, he spoke to you with respect. As soon as somebody speaks to you with respect, you'll speak to them with respect back straight away. It doesn't matter what walk of life, what sport you're playing. If somebody speaks to you with respect, if you don't speak with respect back, you're not a great person. But straight away, I spoke to him respect back, and we had that mutual understanding. The barriers put to cross, and he was brilliant. I thought I had him 2 or 3 times, and I was like, if everyone got taught how to speak to players or just how to handle people, and he obviously could handle people really well, it made such a difference. And as I say, I can't remember any massive controversy. I remember appealing for a throw in, and I was right up at him. He's like, do not run 10 yards to me to appeal like that. You can appeal, but do it when you're running backwards. So no bother. And I was like, that's our throw, and it's clearly come off. He goes, look, big man, that's the way I've seen it. I'm not doing it to try and do you, or I've obviously got it wrong. And he said, I've obviously got it wrong. And then after that, I'm like, I've got nothing to say. I was like, no bother. And just run back into the position. That's it.
Defused.
Confrontation over. But some of the referees now, the young ones, and they're chirping. Daniel Park, he's brilliant. He loves to chirp at everyone, actually, and the referees. And I've seen him running back and forth, having full-blown arguments with the referee as the game's going on. The referee's arguing, and Parky's arguing back. I'm like, just get on with the game, the referee. Yeah. But then that's just somebody that can't handle people in diffuse situations like the guy at Nairn could. And I think that's massive in football. But to be fair, I think the referees are taught to be that way inclined. Don't get into discussions with players. You're there to be their authority, and I think that's what it kind of comes across. But I think if it did go back to that, give somebody respect, and they're going to show you it back.
Yeah. So moving on to, obviously you were involved with the playoffs a number of times. One of the kind of main ones that was the first time you got to the final in terms of the Cowden Beat game. What kind of experience was that like for you? Obviously there was a lot of stuff happening after the match yourself, and a lot of players got sent off. It seemed to be like madness, seeing all the photos and stuff and video.
Yeah, that game, as I say, I've said it to a lot of people, it was a dark day for me at football, actually. It was absolutely heartbreaking. But to be fair, that game, we should have been out of sight. We should have put that to bed near left in Inverurie. For some reason, we couldn't have scored that day. The chances we created, their goalkeeper had an absolute blinder of a game. That to go down there 0-0 was very disappointing. But we were right in the game. They were a far better team the second half, the second leg. I think it went in 1-1 at half time. It felt like a normal game, absolute normal game. Second half came out, and it was just something near right. And I can't say too much about it, but there was just things like before the game, the referee, if you've been down at Cowdenbeath, the referee and the assistants are warming up on the far side of the pitch away from the stand. So there's a racing track around that. It's miles away from the stand. And there's about 5 or 6 committee boys on, chatting to them, having a laugh on the side of the pitch. I remember saying to Roy McBain, I was like, Roy, go and get them off the pitch. They shouldn't be near that ref. Get them away. And I said that before the game. And as I say, that second half kicked off and just every decision seemed to go against us. We got nothing, absolutely nothing. My wee boy, Finn, he would have been about 6 at the time, sat in the crowd with the fans. And he asked me after the day, Daddy, how did that goal stand? The big fast striker quite clearly kicked Stuart, the goalie. When he come out the box, he'd claffed a clearance and he's running back. The big striker just cleaned him out and they chipped the ball in to make it 2-1. And that's where I kind of held a boost after that. And then I think we got the third. Like Scott Ross had chucked it by then. Called the ref a cheat. I think he'd somebody a slap as well. Then it all kicked off after that. Their sideline was a disgrace as well. They're all on the pitch. The ref did nothing about that. But no, and there was another thing. I think there was no cameras at that. There was photographers there. There was no video football footage of that game at all.
Yeah, it was weird.
Cowdenbeath. I don't know if you can put something to the league, but they had requested not to have video cameras at that game as well. So. That's a strange one as well, but I see it now. I seen them the other week there, and that made me very happy actually to see them finally get a bit of justice. I had a beer and toasted to that actually.
I was going to say it's been a long time coming. I think they're one of those clubs that have been kind of circling near the bottom for ages, so it was kind of obvious was going to happen.
They've flipping escaped the trap door 2 or 3 times actually. To see them go down was quite a sweep for me. But then again, that's why the pyramid systems come in to get rid of clubs. It's just rotting at the bottom of the league, really, just propping up the league, and then to give the likes of Cove a chance. Did Edinburgh City go up this season? They've had a wee crack at it.
Yeah.
And then there was Kelty Hearts as well. They've come up and they've cracked on as well. So that's what it's all about. So I wish them all the best. And Bonnie Rig Rose, I'm sure they'll go and have a crack at it as well. So good luck to them.
Yeah. Do you feel like they should make it automatic promotion to make it so much better in terms of have like a one-off playoff between the Lowland League champion and Highland League champion, just have it like a cup final kind of thing? Do you feel
a neutral venue?
Yeah, because it might make a bigger thing of it, if you know what I mean.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just because it's been like that the whole time we've seen it, so we've known what's there. Because there is, it's another 4 games at the end of the season, really, isn't it? It's after a retiring season, and I think that's how we struggled against Edinburgh City at the time. We had played a long season. I think Edinburgh City had won the league with about 8 games to go, so we could rest all our players. But I can't imagine who we were fighting to win the league that season. Was it for Martin that year? Possibly. I remember Darryl Nicholl was our star man, banging in the goals, and his hammy kept going. He kept coming off. We kept needing to play him. We needed his goals, so we kept playing him. And everyone had to play right up to the Saturday before that game. Nobody got a rest, and then you were just straight into that game, and we were just kind of blown away. I think they were fresh and ready to go, and we did struggle. So, and I think the East Kilbride did at that time as well. They sat and waited for us, but it didn't make such a difference. But now you say like to get to that final, it is 4 extra games at the end of the season, another month really on your season. But the league's never going to vote for just an automatic drop out of the league, and I can see why they wouldn't do that. They want to give themselves the best chance, but it does create a bit of interaction with it at the end of the season. Everyone knows it, and then gives you an extra couple of games to go and watch. It gets the fans involved. It gives a bit of interest around the other leagues. Everyone's having a look to see who's got a match to do it. Yeah.
So, how important was it to play a part in Cove's promotion to League Two? How proud were you of that moment?
Massively, absolutely massively. As I said, the start of that season, I didn't really play much. I think I'd been away. I'd been injured in and out. I hadn't played much, and then I got into the team about September, played till just after Christmas, and then dropped out of the team. Scott Ross and Strachan were playing really well at centre half, and we were winning games. I think I could have maybe played another couple of games in the Highland League, but it wasn't to be. But I was still doing my best, obviously around the setting standards of training and stuff, but going into that playoff final, well, going into finals there, we had East Kilbride and Berwick eventually, but John obviously had his health scare before the East Kilbride game, so we were kind of managerless. So at the time, John was resting and recuperating, so Graham really had to take the team after that, Graham and Roy, and with me not playing, I tried to help as best I can. Graham knew what he was doing. Roy's been an experienced guy as well. They just an extra set of hands around the place, trying to help to prepare the boys and to make sure the things were done right and we were going in with the right attitude. But I think with John, we were driven enough to want to win that game anyway. But John, doing it for John, sitting at home, he'd been listening on the radio or whatever, I think gave the boys some extra to go on and to do it. But to be part of that was massive. As I say, I started at Stonehaven through Lothamure, Amateurs, Roselea, Cove. I was sold the dream of getting into the leagues with John 12 years previous. So I hadn't played that much. I kind of had it in my head that I was probably getting to that age that I was going to have to step back from Cove. And so I made my decision quite early that I wasn't going to sign on again anyway. So to go out and to go out the way we did, I was a captain and captained them to the Scottish League, so I'll always have that. I did play the last couple of games. I played a game at Cove for the end of the season there against Clark when we got the trophy. I started that game, I got taken off, standing ovation, and I thought in my head that was the last game I'd play for Cove. That would be the last time I was on the pitch. As long as everyone stayed fit, I could have picked the teams that were going to play East Kilbride and Berwick. But with the game being so comfortable, blew Berwick away that first leg 4-0 I think at home, and I went down there, we're 3-0 up, and that day the fans, I had loads of fans down that day, and what a trip that they went down Berwick. But I had half a stand full, and the whole second half I was on the bench. I kept going out to warm up, and they were all singing Eric Watson songs and stuff like that. I kept singing Eric Watson, and about 15 minutes ago, I think Graham turned to me and says, go and get warmed up. And I said, I think I might get on here actually at the end. So sure enough, 5 minutes ago, he stuck me on. So that was a massive, I was so proud to get on that day, and obviously proud of what the team achieved as well, to finally realise what we've been aiming for the last, I don't know how many years, especially latterly. We just about got in the leagues when I first got out of Cove, when you got voted in.
Oh yeah, Annan got in,
and got in by about 2 votes out of everyone. It was so close as well. But to go and do it yourself off your own steam, winning the way through was it was a great way to finish. And when that whistle went, was on the pitch, the boys celebrated. Obviously, that's cool. Finishing the Highland League. I don't think you'll see them back in the Highland League now. The way they've kicked on, it was brilliant. Absolutely great way to finish my time at Cove.
Yeah, so just how impressed have you been in terms of how they've done in Highland League? Obviously, they've kind of, to an extent, League Two, they kind of cruised it, and then obviously League One, so their championship next season. So
I know, that's incredible. Was that 3 seasons in the championship? Incredible. When I left, I still spoke to the boys, and I knew whether it came out when we went up. There was a 5-year plan to get them into the championship, and I remember going out. Like, I know they're an ambitious club, and they were going the right way. Had some good players. I was like, that's a wee bit ambitious. Like, there's clubs up and down Scotland been trying to do that for years, and they're no good. Falkirk can barely get in, and some of these big teams, they can barely get in the league. So I was thinking, I remember thinking that's a bit ambitious. Like, but they fairly proved me wrong. As you say, they cruised it the first season. They were unlucky the second season, but they bedded themselves in that league. They knew what to do last year, and they went on and they did unbelievable. So I'm looking forward to seeing them next year and how they cope in the championship.
Yeah, how great is it to see so many players who played, who started their trade in the Highland League now they're going to be playing championship next season. It's just brilliant. It's brilliant.
Every week I look at the team just to see how many guys I played with in that team, and it's usually Mackenzie, the goalie, Scott Ross, Harry Milne, Ewell, Scully, Masson, Megginson. I think there's usually 7 or 8 all playing, so that makes me proud as well. But then the young guys that I see come through at Cove as boys, Scully, Ewell and Milne, to see them kick on has been fantastic. I know Blair went down and had a taste of it with Arbroath. Didn't really work out for him. And Scully as well, it took a while to realise his potential. I think he was a frustrating player when he was younger, but now he's a bit older. He realises what he should be doing in and out the team, and he's kicked on massively as well. And it's been brilliant to see them take a step up. As I say, play, as I spoke about me, at a lesser level. You play with better players in better leagues against better players. You've got to make that step, and you've got to do it quickly, or you've got to get found out, and you're going to end up back down the leagues. Like, and the way they've taken that in their stride has been incredible. I know Megginson started; he played at that level. Scott Ross, Strachan, Masson, probably to an extent played at that level as well. But that three that I see come through as 16-year-old boys, right up into men now, that makes me immensely proud.
Yeah. Do you see more Highland League teams following what Cove has achieved and getting promoted up through the divisions in the years to come?
I think that there's got to be more have a go at it. I think Fraserburgh really wanted to have a right go at it this year. They were unlucky in the playoffs. They come up against a really good Bonnyrigg Rose side. I think Fraser would have beaten Cowdenbeath comfortably as well, actually. But they were just unlucky that Bonnyrigg Rose was such a good team. And I think Brora, there was word to them. They would fancy it now. I know they didn't really think it was the thing they wanted to do the last time they had the chance. Fraser, Formartine, I've spoke to people at Formartine, playing wise as well, and they're ambitious to get up in the league. I know Inverurie Locos are ambitious as well, so I think it's only a good thing. It's great being a big fish in a small pond, but if you, as I say, you want to test yourself and you want to test these young lads to get better all the time. You've got to play better teams, play in better leagues, and improve yourself. Yeah,
because you saw Cove prove themselves against, even though they got beaten by Hibs, they seemed to match them. That was a game that was on the TV a while ago.
Yeah, no, they played that. And I think the only thing letting them down that day was they came up against a full-time team. The fitness, I think fitness told in the end. Otherwise, they went toe-to-toe with them the whole game, really. But in the end, you've seen a couple of them, they were just out on their feet. And they're part-time footballers, so they look after themselves the way they can, but the part-time footballer's not going to be as fit as a full-time footballer. It's just not going to happen. So, no, they showed they're more than a match on their day for anybody.
Yeah, so after Cove, you went to Inverurie Locos. How did you find your time there, and did you ever have any options to go elsewhere? Or?
Yeah, well, when I finished, when I said I was leaving Cove, I just had it in my head. I was partly with Jamie Watt. He was the Bank CD manager. I know I'd had discussions with him. He'd maybe quite fancy an experienced defender, or going back to Roselea at that point. I didn't think it was a 37-year-old defender. I didn't really think there was going to be that much need for one. But as soon as that went out that I was finishing, the phone just started texts coming through for everyone, just everyone asking what I was doing. There's 3 or 4 junior clubs looked at me. There was 3 or 4 Highland League clubs that approached me as well. I spoke to a couple, and then finally I decided on going to Inverurie Locos. I spoke to Neil Cooper and Andy Lowe as well. He was instrumental in getting me in too. If you're ever getting signed by Andy Lowe, even if you do rubber his phone calls, he'll just keep phoning you. He keeps phoning you till you have to pick up. But no, I went met Mike McCauley as well, and I just a great club. It really, Inverurie, it was a great decision for me to go there. But it's just the whole COVID has kind of just ruined that my whole time there. And I didn't have any more time to give them, really. That first season, we did all right. I think we were a team building. There was a few team players came in and out, and I think we were trying to build something for probably the following season. And then COVID hit the tail end of that season. The league was cut short. I think we were sitting second. I know there was teams with loads of games in hand, but I claim that as a second place finish. Even though I think Fraserburgh had 6 games in hand over, I think I still count that as a finish over Fraserburgh. Yeah. But no, it was a great time and a great club, and I wish I could have played there longer. But as I say, time's running out on my playing career. The travelling was kind of killing me. At Cove, I always travelled with somebody. There was always guys from the south. But Inverurie, I was up and down that road, and then it was getting to winter. I was just up and down that road myself. Just you were on the phone to people on the way out down the road just to kill time. It was a massive ask. And then, of course, when we weren't playing football, the football stopped. I did sign that new deal in the summer because I thought there was a chink of light at the end of the COVID, but it didn't really prove to be. We did pre-season, got myself half fit again, and then we never really got playing. and it dragged on to about Christmas time, and I was like, with the Cove, and you see what was going on in the world, you realise there's more to life than running up the road to play for football, a game of football when all that was happening in the world. So I made a decision I had to leave, so I cut my ties with Inverurie, but not a bad word to say against them. A lot of time for the club, as I say. Neil Cooper was good to me, Loza was great with me, and Mike McCauley as well, top man.
Yeah, so there was a lot of young players, and there's been a lot of they seem to be picking up a lot of young players who have potential to kind of move on. In terms of, you got Robbie War and different players. Who were kind of the players that you kind of feel like could push on and kind of impressed you when you were?
Robbie came in. I think he came in after I left. I know Loza was chasing him at the time. Kieran Shanks had just come in and trained a couple of times. There was something about him, actually. I think I fell out with him at training at one time. He was mouthing off. He was just a young lad in the door. I think I should have passed him the ball, and I had a shot, so he said something. So I had a wee bit of disagreement with him. But you've seen he had quality, and I think I mentioned it on another podcast. I did see quality in him. He's obviously shown his worth this year as well. But I think it was a good way to go for Inverurie. They obviously had in myself. They were hoping I would try and help these young lads into the team, but it's certainly the way to go. They're talented young footballers. I know there's midfielders, Robertson as well.
Yeah,
I haven't been able to see much of Inverurie, but he's come in as well. And there's some good young. And then they had Andy Watt. He went away to Turriff, and other young boys going through there as well. So it's a way to go, especially for a club like Inverurie. Get them in young, and they might not have instant success, but if they can keep that group of core, that team together, it'll only be good for them, because they were kind of relying on the likes of Nacho. He was brilliant, actually. He was a year older than me and still playing, and his fitness was phenomenal. Chopper as well, he was a great player too. But they've got some good players there, good experienced players there. And if they can keep that young guys improving the way they have, they're going to have the right go at it in the next year or two as well. A team like Inverurie Locos, they had Nacho there. You speak about setting standards. In standards, he was there, like he'd be training every time. He'd be first at training, he'd be the last there. He'd knock his pan in. You physically see how much he was knocking his pan in. And he demanded standards as well. And I think it's just great for any player coming through to see that. He was a guy, as I say, he was a year older than me, and he was still giving absolutely everything for that club. And the younger players buy into that. Like, well, if that's normal here, that's what we do here. And that's the kind of thing it is, setting standards, and it just carries on. They'll take it on. They'll take it on a couple of years, and then they'll see younger boys. They can have point the finger and say, that's not acceptable. This is what we do here, and this is what we demand here. So hugely, and I think it's great having all these young players in a team, but you do still need experience there, especially when the going gets tough. You need that experience just to keep them grounded, keep them level, and keep them pointing in the right direction.
Yeah, so final few questions. Who do you think next season will win the league? Who are your who's your money on?
I think Fraserburgh, I would say, must be one of the favourites again. As I say, they've built something there. Mark Cowie's done well there. They've had, and some of the experienced boys have gone, but they've kept that core of players for years, and they've been building for that for the last 5 years. I would say. Willie West maybe coming the tail end, but again, he'll be the one setting standards to these guys. So Fraserburgh will be there. I think Bucky will come back stronger again. Spider will probably pull something out of the hat again. Brora will build. I think they'll be strong again. I say Inverurie won't be far away, and I would imagine Anderson's Ando for Martin will try and get them going again as well. I think it'll be a good league. I think Cove, I don't know from other teams' perspectives, but I think a lot of them were beaten before the season even started. And once you see Cove are starting to win games, I think it became kind of a one-horse race at times as well, especially latterly in some of the seasons going past before getting promoted. But I think everyone will look at all that top 4 or 5 teams will look at each other thinking, we can take points off them, and somebody else will take points off them. So I think it's right open now. And there's Rothes again. I think they'll build again. They'll strengthen as well. So I think they're making a right good league this year.
Yeah. So how do you see Brecon faring in their second season? In terms
of course, I forget about Brecon as well. Yeah, I think they're going to be much more equipped this year. I was a wee bit negative towards them the way that they set up this year, but to be fair, they didn't get long to throw a team together. They went down after the playoffs. The Hale squad left. I think there was only about 3 players left. A week or two to try and get together where they were actually, what league they were going to be in, because they were still trying to fight to be in the South League. Then they had to appoint a manager, get some coaching staff in, and they had to try and sign players. So they threw a team together in a matter of weeks. They were playing trialists even at the start of the league. I think they were playing trialists. So this year they know what's needed. They'll bring in a lot of players as well. I think they'll spend a good bit of money again this year. So they'll be another one in the mix. They'll be looking around thinking, we'll fancy this year. As I say, I think we spoke earlier on, they signed a young junior striker who played ex-senior. I think he's ex-Dundee as well. Scored a lot of goals this year. I think he'll be one to watch. And again, as I said, they'll bring in some experience and brought the Elgin captain in as well. He's a local guy to Brechin. I think he played in the Brechin youth. He's come in as well. So that was the kind of player they need. But as I say, they threw a team together then. They are late on in the season. The kind of players that are available late in pre-season are kind of players that we're getting. Abby's having a look at thinking, we really want them. All the best players are snapped up at the start of the pre-season. Yeah. So they'll be much more equipped now to get in the kind of player they want, the type of player they need. And I think they'll be there or thereabouts as well this year.
Yeah, so final question. How are you finding management in terms of how are you finding it, basically?
It's different. It's different if you forget, because I have been playing as well, so you're kind of in the players' bubble, but then you've got to keep out of it as well. You can't be right in it. So it was kind of difficult. I brought in a good pal of mine that I played at Roselea, David Craig, Dovey, and the goalkeeper, Coach Ronnie. He was there when I was at Roselea as well. So these are guys I know really well. But like that first, as I speak about the season just past there, the start of that season, I think we started all right. We had a few decent results, and then COVID hit. A heap of guys got COVID. A heap of guys were injured. A heap of guys were missing. And September, I think we never lost a game. We never won a game. We got beat all 4 games or 5 games. I think we played, beat them all. And that's doom and gloom when you're coming back to home, thinking, Jesus, is this even for me? Are the boys even signed for me? Are they putting it in? But they were, and we'll come out the other side of that. So it's a bit of character building for me. But as I say, that was only September past, but that just seems such a long time ago. We came back after Christmas. We kicked on. I think we were a better team after that. We got more boys fit. And again, bringing in players. Montrose, we will compete with the bigger junior clubs down in Aberdeen with the finances and stuff that they've got at their disposal. Montrose just doesn't that. So we've got to rely on all your best local players coming and want to play for Roselea. We'll play out at Links Park, unbelievable surface there, so that should attract them. So I've got a good bunch of boys. They're honest lads. I'm not trying to stitch me up or anything like that, but I think if we're fitter next year, I think they know what I'm expecting of them now as well. So I think we'll be a better team next year. But it's been a steep learning curve, that's for sure. But dealing with COVID, that was the big thing. Like, the start of the season, you weren't getting showers.
Yeah.
They weren't allowed to travel in the same cars at times. There was so many restrictions, and it was doing my head in. And that's kind of one of the reasons I left Inverurie, because I couldn't cope with any of that. So that was still there. So that was kind of getting me down as well. But it's kind of all opened up now. The world's looking a wee bit more normal. So I'm looking forward to this season to get going again in a more normal kind of setup for a league, and have a right go and see where we end up.
Yeah, so final question. What sort of things have you kind of learnt from the managers you've played under and kind of, used in terms of your management, would you say?
I never played under a lot of managers, to be fair. There was only two at Cove, John Tyndall and John again. But yeah, I think man management's one of the biggest things in football. If these boys are at these teams, they're obviously there because they've got a bit of ability. But you've got to manage them and how they give that back to you and how they play. And as I say, treatment of players, you've got to treat everyone differently. I think I'm quite good at that in life, actually. In general life, you speak to a big bossy guy, and you can give him a bit of grief because he'll take that. But then the quieter ones as well, there's no point treating him the same as the other guy, because that's not going to work, I think. And I think John was one of the best at getting the best out of people, so they would run through brick walls for you. They would use get every ounce of ability out of them. And I think that's something I try and strive to be. That's what I've got to be, to try and get the best out of the players I've got.
For listening to the Highland League podcast. Hope you can join me next time for another interesting interview.